Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to today's Inc.'s office hours. So excited to be here. German, thank you for joining us. We're waiting for some speakers as well to join us, but for now, hello.
Hey Lauren, how are you?
I'm so good. It's been a while since we've chatted last. So what's new with you?
Nothing new to be fair, but lots of work with ink and exciting to see what's going on in the space. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm excited about today's topic because, of course, office hours, we welcome folks to come in with any question that they have from their development perspective on smart contracts. Bring your questions about what you're working on right now, what you want to build, what you hope to build and want to get started, and any of those sort of things. But we do have a topic which is around front end for your ink contract. So that'll be pretty neat to dive into as well at some point. But yeah, and while we wait for folks to get here, what have you been working on? Tell me. You said work has been busy. So what in the world of ink has been busy?
Well, to be fair, I literally just came from a vacation a week ago, and
Yeah.
yeah, I've already been swamped with lots of issues to work on. And currently, I'm working on verifiable builds because a couple of projects around block explorers that require ink to be built in deterministic environments in order to
Mm-hmm.
verify the code on chain. This is something similar what if scan has been doing for a while, when you can actually
Yep.
go into smart contract page and then see all the metadata about the contract and whether the contract has been verified. And we try to do something similar with ink.
And how's it going?
I mean, the PR is open. There's a couple of minor issues to be resolved, but it should be merged pretty soon. And then we hope to release the next cargo contract version pretty soon.
And do we see folks responding to this? Like, what are developers saying when it comes to the work you're working on right now?
So again, the reason why we're doing this from our side is because there already been a couple of initiatives to do that, and we just want to
Mhm.
standardize this process across multiple projects in order to avoid any fragmentation with verifiable builds. So we're gonna have one Docker image, and we
Mm,
expect all the projects to use this Docker image, so we have some consistency.
I love that. That's super cool. Well, yeah, I mean, it sounds like then people are stoked for it. There's a need for it. And yeah, I love when to be working on things like that then to kind of make things all unified and just clear for the developer process wise. I think that's so important. Okay, so let's dive in. Unless someone, of course, looks like we're still gaining listeners, but yeah, feel free to raise your hand if you have a question anytime while we're talking. That is, of course, why we're doing this live. It's for the audience, for the community to participate. But otherwise, I will just ask you questions until someone else has a question. Let's see. Oh, Decoded is coming up. Do we have any Ink folks attending Decoded? It's our annual conference, and it's happening, gosh, later this month in Copenhagen.
Yep, I'm again super excited, super thrilled for the conference. I see what's there for ecosystem, and yes, we're gonna have
Hmm.
Hernando, our great Hernando, from Ink team to talk about hybrid chains. And I don't want to put any
Nice.
spoilers, but
Ah,
there is already a blog post about it, which you
okay.
can read up. I think it's been posted somewhere in the Polkadot forum or on Hernando's Twitter. And yeah, he's going to talk more about hybrid chains, what it means for Polkadot ecosystem, and how it's different from existing, what's different between app chains and generic blockchains. And yeah, like super excited. Make sure you sign up and turn up. And I think the rest of the team will be there too, so we can also just connect in the conference chat, uh, talk about anything ink
Yeah.
related.
What a dream. I mean, yeah, there's something so fun about being in person with folks. But then, of course, it'll be I think some things will be streamed online. And yeah, I know my DevRel team will be live streaming as well. So maybe we can have some folks on to talk about it for that. Yeah, just kind of do some interactivity with the audience as well. Um, well, that sounds like a really fun opportunity to come meet and chat to Inc. folks in general. So please let us know if you'll be there. Give a hand wave in the audience. Um, let's see, what else do you want to talk about? You want to talk about incubator, Inkathon? What's getting you excited these days?
Well, to be fair, I read an article about GenesisDAO and then what they're doing, and this is something I'm really excited about. And uh,
Okay.
yeah, I might,
Oh, and they're on the audience.
yeah. So if you guys wanna tune in and just I also have a couple of questions for you.
Welcome, Genesis DAO. We're so happy to have you. Yes, let's give a heart to that as well. Okay, so let's see. Talk to me about the new version of Cargo Contract. It was released,
Sure.
version
Oh,
3.0.
right. Yeah. I mean that
Yeah, what's the big change? What's the
uh,
new release?
again. To be fair, there are not many releases, and there's only one change. And the reason why we just bumped the major version is because we are following semantic versioning, and whenever there is a breaking
Ah,
change, we are essentially pushing incrementing the major version. And the only breaking change is that you just need to modify the top line of your cargo contract to allow no main functions to be included in the file. That's it. That's the only major change. And again, this is a breaking change. And if you forget to do it, next time you compile with cargo contract 3.0, it's going to complain and explain you what you need to do. That's basically it.
amazing. Really cool. Well, thank you for, I mean, it's exciting, but we don't need to say, oh, it's just a little update. It's exciting. Okay, Genesis DAO, welcome to the stage. How's it going?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Ah, perfect. First time actually I speak with this phone on a space. I was wondering if the technology works. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm great.
it gets a little dicey.
I'm in Berlin. The weather is great. Everyone's like pretty excited about it's not raining and being cold anymore. Yeah, can't complain.
All right, awesome.
Wonderful. And I think that Gurman had questions for you.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, shoot.
yeah,
I can introduce ourselves first, but just shoot your questions as well.
I mean, surely I'll just give you opportunity to introduce yourself, and then I'll get to the questions.
Okay, yeah, great. So yeah, basically we're building GenesisDAO. So we're coming from the angle of a venture studio, Deep Ink Ventures, and we've been in talks with some people at Parity about cool things that the ecosystem might need, and iterated about a few ideas. And one thing that came up like very early was the idea of DAO tooling or DAO infrastructure for the Polkadot ecosystem. And so there are multiple reasons for it. One was obviously there is not yet a core infrastructure layer for DAO building. And secondly, it was a good way, or at least a good idea, to showcase some of the cool technologies that Parity has. So coming to the basic idea of GenesisDAO, it's a substrate based chain that's aiming to be a system parachain, and we've just finished the development of the core. So you can already go to genesisdao.org, which is a testnet running on our own, basically. So it's not yet connected to the relay chain. And yeah, you can already start creating DAOs, issue tokens, create proposals, vote for them, have the entire life cycle of a DAO. And the basic vision that we're going for is basically twofold. So the first one is we want to build an ink-based ecosystem on top of it. And I tend to think about ink like a bit different than it might be used today. So one thing that I always liked when I was coming from, I'm a bit older, coming from Web 2 development, was basically the idea when you had this big software that went very successful in the Web 2 space, like WordPress CMS or Magento shops. They basically focused on a very dense core. and then build a big plugin ecosystem on top of this. And this is basically the vision that we have for our Ink ecosystem with our core. So what we're currently doing is we're integrating the pallets contracts, obviously, into our chain. And then we want to have hook points in our core functionality where you can basically deploy smart contract extensions in Ink that you can then use to alter the contract, alter the behavior of the core, pretty much like you did in Web 2 when you develop plugins for systems. Yeah. I mean, maybe this has an intro. We wrote an article about it. I can share it afterwards, where we dive a bit more into detail. And obviously, since we're building it for parity, everything's open source. You can as well just look into the code if you're interested in how we're developing. But yeah, shoot your question. So it's German, not German, right?
Yeah, it's German. Yeah, I know it's a weird name. It's supposed to be Herman, but yeah, wrong translation. I mean, yeah, I'm super excited about your article, and you guys are doing some really amazing job. And I'm really excited to see how you bring in Ink into the picture. And just want to ask about more like how you essentially implemented the chain extensions, what the extension is going to be. Maybe like a little bit too technical question, but I'm just interested from the developer perspective. So what kind of functions are you going to expose in the chain extension, and then like essentially what kind of functionality are you going to expose from the runtime to the smart contract developers?
Yeah, actually, so chain extensions are basically the other way to think about it. So basically, what a chain extension does in the substrate world is, for those of you don't know, is basically you have an Ink contract, and then you can expose functionalities that you can call back into the substrate core. So that's basically the API that the pallets within substrate expose. The way we're doing it is basically rather different. We have a lot of like what's called bear call in the pallets contract, which is basically the way of calling smart Ink contracts from within the pallet itself. So it's the other way around. So what we're doing, I give you an example. And you can look, we have a bit more detail in this in some proposals. I can share it as well. But for example, currently we have implemented a voting functionality that's majority vote. So basically, yeah, self-explanatory. Every time someone votes for a proposal, at the end we'll just look who had the most tokens voted in favor, and then that's it. But I give you an example that might be interesting. For example, what's very common is vesting wallets, so that people want to give investors tokens, but they should be vested so that they're not flooding the market, and then they are basically released over specific time. That's pretty standard for a lot of DAOs and concepts. And what you can do basically in this way would be you deploy Ink smart contract that implements the vesting wallet functionality, and then you link it to your DAO. So you basically can register this contract you can register this contract to your DAO, and then every time the vote functionality is running, we're calling your smart contract, and you can basically alter the vote results by additionally counting the tokens that are still vested and that are not yet in the wallet. Something like this. So the basic idea is it's not chain. So we will have some chain extensions, but it's not. But that's not the main functionality. The main functionality is going the other way around. So it's basically coming from the pallets calling into smart contracts. We have as well. There's a proposal out there on the V3 grant fund called Stylograph, which explains this concept in more details and gives even some code examples if you want to dive deeper.
Yep, that's exciting. Thanks for detailed answer, and I'm almost intrigued to actually go and look into your code base. The second question I have is actually related to modules. So smart contracts essentially like Drupal modules. And my question is, will there be support for inter-module communication? So would it be possible for one module to communicate with the other one? Would you have this kind of cross-module communication?
I mean, that's the aim. Yes, we actually researching this at the moment. To be honest, everything I just said sounds very very easy in doing so, but it's currently a lot of things. You have to do a lot of manual coding. For example, there's not yet a lot of great decoding of variables that are exchanged, or basically results that coming back from Ink, and the same is true for a lot of the stuff that we're going to build. So actually currently we're in the experimenting status. We have like We have a prototype that's somewhat working, and now we're looking at ways to actually make it a bit smoother. So yeah, just to be honest, I can't tell you right at the moment. So obviously, we want to go look a bit deeper into that. Myself, not super familiar with that part of it yet, to be honest. So yeah, I have to look what research, what our team says and what comes up. I will take it on my list and we'll come back to you on that one.
All right, awesome, thanks. And maybe then an easy question would be, why ink? Why not Solidity?
Yeah, good question.
Well, I mean, first of all, so I have a lot of background in Solidity-based languages, and so the first thing is I'm myself just excited about ink and having a language that is that doesn't have like these weird things about mathematics and basic mathematics things that you have to do. A lot of the times you do stuff within our DAO. You have to basically manipulate numbers, and that's just not that's probably better in ink. But just to be honest, it's not like it's not like you can't do these things in Solidity and you have to do it. You have to do it in ink. So from our perspective, it was just like the best language currently available in the Parity ecosystem. We do think that lots of the tooling that we want to build isn't there yet anyway. So one of the big advantages when you deploy or when you start launching a Solidity based ecosystem on Parity is that you get the advantage of all the code that has already been written for the EVM, that you can start using it right ahead. And this is, I think, one of the things. We have all the tooling and like all basic everything that has been done for DeFi and the likes, but you don't have that much for DAOs, and the stuff that you have for DAOs is probably not working with the system that we have. And so people have to write new code anyways. And for this, we think a green plate language that has basically some more advantages is a better choice. So, but yeah, it's more or less, it boils down to personal opinion, to be honest. So you could do the same thing in Solidity, but we have some experience in Rust in the team, and yeah, thought that the exchange, especially between Substrate and the ink palette world, might be easier for us. And stand be corrected if that's true, because that's the part where we're currently working on. Like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the original intention, and it's glad you mentioned, because ink originally is supposed to be kind of an entry point to Substrate ecosystem. And yeah, the API is a bit different, but it gives you very nice introductions to, Rust and Substrate crates, and then you can then transition into palette development, which is quite similar. You also have storage, you have dispatchables instead of messages, and you have events. It's kind of similar concept. And if we have time for more questions, Lauren, I would just ask one last question.
Oh, we definitely do. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions. I'm so fascinated. I want to start with, like, how big is your team? What is your role yourself? Yeah, I just would love to learn more about y'all.
Okay, should I answer this, or do you want to go first, Gavin? Yeah, just go ahead and answer this. So so our team is currently, I think it's let me count, 8 people, including 2 freelancers. So most of them are working actually in tech. So we do have 2 people working in backend and Rust, and 2 people working on front end, and one basically is head of engineering, who's leading the entire operations. So I'm basically doing software architectonics and basically technical advisory on the entire part. So I'm doing a lot of coding myself, but not currently so much, to be honest. But yeah, I've been coming up with the concepts and building the team, and working on the high level stuff of it.
That's so exciting. That's really cool. Gurman, go ahead. We can kind of piggyback back and forth with each other. I don't know, go back and forth. I don't know, whatever that is.
My question would be, if there is anything you don't like about ink, what would it be? One thing, or many things.
What are you doing? Okay, all right, good, fair.
Sorry, second. If I could change one thing about ink, what would it be?
Or if you could change one thing, or the one thing you don't like about ink, what would it be?
I think the one thing that is currently a bit annoying is a lack of standardization in most of the things. So lots of the things that, especially communicate, obviously our part communicating with communicating with substrate calls is not really very, very standardized. So the entire way of exchanging communications is exchanging variables and results and stuff like that is kind of manual. You basically have to decode everything into bytes and then send it over. So this would help a lot for us, and I think this is as well a part where we probably can help and build a bit on. And the other part of source standardization is like building more. I mean, there is some things like how could a token contract be structured and the likes, but I would like to see more of this ERC-like standardization patterns about how to do specific things, upgradability and proxies and all the likes, where you come from the Ethereum EVM world, and you do have like established patterns, maybe like, and these are all patterns that are like formulated. Some of them have been just like been standardized by Open Zeppelin, just doing it like this, and then everyone started doing this. But a lot of the stuff is especially for me, and I'm working on a lot of different languages. For me, it's always like I know how to do this in Solidity. I'm not sure how I do it in Ink or in other languages. And so this part I think could get some more attention. But this is actually true for Substrate as well. So a lot of the stuff about having a unique interface or having a unique way of doing things across different projects would be great.
All right, actually, to answer your question, like to kind of relate to the point about token standards, have you come across Brush Farm and the PSP standards? Because we do have PSP 22, which is equivalent to ERC 20. We have PSP 34, which is equivalent to NFT standard. And have you come across those those standards? And they actually have a sample code on their website. And like you can actually open pull request if you have any kind of proposals for new standards to be added.
I mean, I've seen the token standards, but I mean, I was referring more or less like basically things like interface standards, like how to discover, how to do proxies and upgradability, those kind of things where you have like UPPS proxy in Solidity and stuff like that. So this I might have overseen it, but then I have to dive deeper. But these were the parts where I was just like, when I started learning it, wasn't really on board. But maybe this was as well on Ink 3.5 or something like that. Maybe that has changed. But yes, send me the links. I will look at it.
Sure. Yeah, we'll do. All right. I mean, that's it for me for questions. If you have questions back for me,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you have any more questions?
Back and forth between the two. And then also, folks listening, if you have questions, of course, we welcome that too. But until then, I have a question. Do you objective goal wise want to become a common good parachain or potentially bid for a parachain slot?
Yeah, I mean, this is the idea, becoming a common good parachain. So we don't have a concept of a own token or the likes. It's just like pure core open source infrastructure for the ecosystem itself. It's not like a for-profit company.
Yeah. And then, wait, Deep Ink Ventures, is that?
Yeah, that's basically
right?
that's basically the company building GenesisDAO. But GenesisDAO itself, that's completely open source on an Apache license, and it doesn't have commercial orientation on this. So basically, everyone can just use it. So it's like we build it for the ecosystem.
Sure. Parody Polkadot kind of constant. Got you. Oh, I know. Are you going to be giving a talk at one of the next community meetups for Ink that we have in Berlin?
Yeah, that was the plan. Actually, we talked to Michi about it to have, to basically present a bit GenesisDAO, maybe give a bit of a view on what's actually happening there and what our goal is for that. So be prepared. Maybe even with a live demo, even though I'm always a bit scared of those.
No, look at you're already doing it right now. This is live. This is somewhat of a verbal demo, if you will. But okay, that's so cool. So folks in Berlin, be on the lookout for that. We'll definitely promote it on Twitter here as well. But connecting back actually to common good parachain piece, what's the business model then? If you without a token, what's the play there?
I mean, this is a part of the system powertrain. It shouldn't have a business model. So it should be like, so it's basically funded by Parity, and the ecosystem itself just can use it. So that's the basic idea. So it's by definition doesn't have a business case.
Got you. Okay, well, folks, yeah, I don't see any hands in the audience, so potentially we've answered all questions when it comes to y'all. I so appreciate you joining us up on stage today. And yeah, definitely everyone in the audience, be on the lookout for more to come. It sounds like from GenesisDAO.
Yeah, my pleasure. I mean, all the questions that I couldn't answer in detail that are technical, I can forward them to our team, and then we can give you a bit more ones. So I'll follow up on you, Gammon, on that one.
All right,
Okay,
thanks.
fabulous. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining.
So what else is there? What else do you want to chat about today? What are you feeling? Do you want to give me an update on Incubator?
Well, to be fair, I haven't been following this. Is solely Sam's and Fernando's initiatives, and I think they already got one team on board and one auditor, which is exciting to see. But again, if anyone in the audience have potential candidates for Incubator, still shoot us a message. Encourage them to apply.
Kind of some rolling admissions to it. That's cool. All right, awesome. So do we want to chat about the FAT contracts on the Fala mainnet?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, right. That's like some interesting stuff going on there.
Yep. Again, I've chatted with a couple of folks from Fala, and then it's actually exciting to see what they're doing with Ink. And they are essentially bringing Ink to off-chain world, and this is something different and unusual, I would say. But at the same time, it's actually I also I personally believe in off-chain smart contracts and execution. I think there is a lot of potential, like in lots of applications in trustless AI developments, and even off-chain computation, just engineering off-chain computation. And there's so many applications going on, and I'm so excited to see that they actually choosing, going with Ink. And I mean.
But can we clarify just for listeners, like why we don't typically execute heavy tasks in smart contracts? Like why is this unique? I guess I think that might be helpful for folks.
Sure. So with on-chain, typically smart contracts is something that's running on-chain, and essentially you are forcing all the validators to run through your code, and in order not to stall the chain, you essentially need to pay gas. So whenever you execute something heavy computational, you need to pay lots of gas, and you need to pay with real money. And the reason for that is because, again, it's a Turing completeness problem that you cannot essentially estimate. You cannot just look at the program and see how much computation is going to take without actually running it. So you basically pay gas on demand. So after execution has finished, you essentially pay. You pay for the execution, and this is why you specify gas limit. This is how much gas you're willing to spend, and if after execution, the execution took less gas to run, then you essentially refunded. You get refunded the difference between the limit that you set and the actual cost of execution. And what Fala does is that essentially you essentially bring the smart contract off chain, and then this is something that allows you to submit arbitrary code to some node, and then it runs the contract off of the chain, and then just submits the result. Just commits the result to the blockchain. And the way that Fala, again, if I'm not fully knowledgeable on that, the way they guarantee this, the safety integrity of this computation is through some Intel hardware features. Again, I don't have full knowledge on that, and would love to actually have someone from Fala on the stage to talk more about it.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, but
maybe next time that's something we can do.
Yeah, but essentially they I think ready on mainnet with fat contracts, and yeah, like just go on the website and read more about it.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting. Yeah, and we should clarify, every ink contract can, without changes, be deployed to Fallout. Their extension is optional, right? Like, and so that'll just, interactivity wise, I'm really curious to see more. But yeah, maybe for next time we can continue on and chat about that for sure. I think we were going to mention that I think we had like some announcements we were maybe going to shout out. GenesisDAO for sure. We were talking about, projects that aspiring to become parachains, big announcements that have happened. There's the 2 Polkadot parachains who have, announced that they'll be adding support for the pallet contracts in Ink, which are Interlay and Zeitgeist, and that's super exciting. So yeah, lots of potential topics for future office hours if folks are interested. But yeah, otherwise, I suppose Herman, do we want to call it a day today? Have we hit the topics we were hoping to address
I mean,
for today?
unless there are more questions, I don't think so. Just again, I want to say thanks everyone for joining, and if anyone has more questions, during any other time, just feel free to hit me a message on Element, LinkedIn, or Twitter. I'm always happy to answer any sort of questions related to Ink.
Oh, you're so kind. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's really fun. I guess don't feel like you have to hold your questions for the first Wednesday of the month by any means. But yes, of course, join us next time. And again, thanks everyone for listening. Really appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.